Hi everybody, welcome to Retro Station 1989. I'm Commander Dan, Commander and lone inhabitant of the Retro Station. Well, that's not entirely true. I'm also here with Splat.
Hi everybody.
Yes, hello. And Margot, the AI.
Hi, Commander.
And also Cambot Jr., but he's doing his job right now, so I can't show you him. But if you look over some of our old footage, you can see that Cambot Jr. is in fact alive and well.
Looking good, Commander.
That's right. Thank you, Cambot Jr. Okay, well, welcome to Retro Station, and welcome to License to Play. This is a show where we basically take a look at old licensed retro games. Things based on movies, comic books, TV shows, anything. Breakfast cereal mascots. In fact, a lot of things got licensed out there that were just, none of those things, but were just, as a matter of fact, well, wild sometimes. But, hey Margot.
Hi, Commander.
Any luck contacting that fast food joint? Because, big boy wants his big boy, you understand? Need some burgers and fries up in this piece.
Negative, Commander. There's an ion storm around Rigel 9 and a meteor cluster around Vega 7, causing communication interference.
Ah, well, it's always something. Well, anyway, as soon as we can contact them, let me know so I can order, okay?
Affirmative, Commander.
Well, recently we've been mostly keeping to the Nintendo Entertainment System, the SNES and Genesis, retro systems, in my opinion, and to traditional licensed materials. But, like I said, during my review of Batman Dark Tomorrow, I'm old, but I found out that the Xbox, for example, is retro. What? Some people think the Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation are also retro. What? But apparently they are. And apparently I'm infinitely older than I thought that I was. So, that being said, today's game is retro, but let me tell you, this license is truly mind-bafflingly weird. I mean, the game itself is a regular game, normal. In fact, I suggest everyone try to play it. It's a fun, because the license is so weird. The license, in fact, is definitely odd. The year is 1998, and the people of the world are getting tense as hell. First, there was this Y2K computer bug that was going to annihilate all life on every planet with a computer as we know it. Well, that's what Leonard Nimoy was screaming anyway. Back then, everyone was getting nervous about the big one. Armageddon, Ragnarok, the end times, end of days, and the media wasn't shirking on their duties to stoke that fear. Take a look at this lineup. Fallen, Deep Impact, Godzilla. If it was big and scary and was going to permanently leave mankind with a colossal limp, then they made a movie about it in 1998. And there wasn't just one big-ass meteor going to destroy the Earth like it had a space boner for destroying all life, but two of them. Two flicks about meteors. Armageddon, Deep Impact, and worst of all, Meet the Deedles. I don't know what Meet the Deedles was about, people. Like, you saw that shit? Nobody saw that. Or know what the hell a goddamn Deedle is. Apparently, it's a very rare birth defect where two kids are joined at the hair, and the hair is made of frosting. Whatever. The point is, people were nervous about our chances of making out of this century with all of our limbs and fingers and genitals intact. And it wasn't just movies that year. Video games were definitely feeling the angst. Metal Gear Solid, Half-Life, Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey, Xenogears, and on the Nintendo 64, Ocarina of Time was a more adult, less optimistic take on Link and his adventures.
Hey, listen!
Oh, what the hell?
Don't forget to tell everyone about how everyone was worried about all the future stuff, Commander Dan.
I was literally saying that very thing to the nice people. What the fuck?
Hey, listen! Don't swear! That's not cool, Commander Dan!
You know what? I'll swear all the swears I want to, you little floaty piece of shit.
Hey, listen! Hey!
Son of a...
Listen!
Folks, you watch the rest of this, and I'm gonna go do something horrible to Splat.
Boo.
So, we've got a world on the brink of computer-based destruction. Our hearts fearing for a future filled with bleak, post-apocalyptic wastelands. And Deedles, I guess? Anyways, 1998 was the peak of what I'd call the Willis conundrum. This ubiquitous run of movies that were either fun and wild and amazingly over-the-top movie trash starring Bruce Willis, or basic TNT Saturday afternoon, I guess I'll watch it because the tequila hasn't quite taken hold yet, movie trash. Now let it be known, I love Bruce Willis. He's, well, I'll let Key and P tell you.
Bruce Willis is my...
Mine too, fellas. Mine too. And from the time Bruce Willis abandoned TV, well, the one show he was ever on, I guess, moonlighting, and became the everyman journeyman hero for every doughy middle-aged white guy, you know, the tough version of Bill Murray is how I describe him, Bruce Willis made a career out of action movies that I don't really think required him to take off his shirt much, or look directly into the camera for the poster. Seriously, dude never looks directly in the camera on a poster. Ever. He starred in things like Hudson Hawk, or where he could be a wisecracking baby type, like Look Whose Parents Are Scientologist flicks. The guy was everywhere, and not exactly offensive, and it was adorable the way he pretended he wasn't going bald since 1989. And then, in 1994, he co-starred with John Travolta in a movie without very many Scientologists in it at all, and had almost no talking babies in it whatsoever. In fact, truth be told, 0 talking babies. But he did get in sick shape for the flick and played Butch. Now this is what I like to call the holy crap, Bruce Willis looking tough era of the Bruce Willis conundrum. From Pulp Fiction to The Jackal and 12 Monkeys and Armageddon, in 1998, Bruce Willis was on top of the world and wanted everyone to know he was a tough guy. He had Planet Hollywood, hit movies, and never looking directly into a camera for posters. I mean, look at this crap, are you kidding me? The Bruce Willis conundrum's pinnacle, in my opinion, was when a video game company couldn't escape the gravity of his star power, and what began as Bruce Willis is your wisecracking sidekick and you are the movie star ended up as starring Bruce Willis, Apocalypse. Well, it's Apocalypse, but you'll notice starring Bruce Willis. I mean, for real, dude. Starring Bruce Willis, Apocalypse by Activision and Neversoft for the Sony PlayStation. Now, are we looking at a hidden sandwich over here, you know? Like the movie The Last Boy Scout? Or is this just another run-of-the-mill Wonder Bread and American cheese Sammy? Like The Last Boy Scout. Oh, and Splat? Don't you worry about the little spud. I put him in a jar, you know, like the fairies love to be in, from Ocarina of Time. And, well, I also might have done something else. Marga, we dealt with him, correct? In a humane fashion, right?
Aye, Commander.
Now, let's jump into the history of this. And, well, also the license of this, because it's just downright fascinating. Starring Bruce Willis, Apocalypse by Activision and Neversoft was released in October of 1998, at the beginning of the holiday rush, and had been in development since 1996. Originally, it was going to be a game about a mercenary with an AI sidekick named Trey Kincaid, voiced by none other than Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis is my...
Right. Well, Bruce Willis is notoriously fun and easy to work with. I paid money for a ticket to hear a hero and semi-acquaintance of mine, Kevin Smith, talk about what it was like to work with Bruce Willis on Cop Out. And boy howdy, if that experience was anything like what happened while this game was in production, that would definitely explain how the game ended up starring Bruce Willis, with him getting top billing on all the ad copy and the cover of the game. Activision published the game, but development was handled internally by folks at Neversoft. You might have heard of them. I don't know. I like them, but maybe they're too obscure for you. You might have heard of one of their other games. A little game called Spider-Hawk Pro Guitar Skater 2 Metallica Edition. But seriously, the time this game spent in development was used to rework Willis from being a sidekick to being the number one hero, and doing motion capture and getting his face scanned onto the weird little guy. This game took forever to get made. And eventually, as Bruce Willis known to do, he took over the whole project. This video is from PlayStation Underground. Watch how he tosses this poor sack of shenanigans around. If nothing else, Bruce is taking this thing seriously. And I don't know how he got away with it, except I guess he got all of them some Bruce Willis chicken to celebrate this. Also note, never looks down the barrel of the camera, not even while he's doing the stupid motion capture. The video is still describing this as Bruce being someone's sidekick, but him manhandling that IT guy dressed up in a mocap suit suggests that Bruce is there for the top spot, and I don't think anyone's going to tell that dude no. He also had some suggestions to dialogue changes, they said, in the EGM preview, because of course he did. I mean, they cut his 800 lines of support dialogue to much less, mostly grunts and oofs and a couple repeating wisecracks, but the soundtrack's really good, the score, and it includes Poe and System of a Down, basically all the late 90s you're going to need. Also, Cirrus and Snot, two bands I don't know much about. This thing's got polish and bells and whistles for days, even videos playing on some of the screens. War, by System of a Down's lyrics, match up with the ad copy, which is pretty cool. You know, praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. But sadly, this game at the time suffered from not meeting the press and player community's great expectations more than any real issues with gameplay, and the novelty of playing as Bruce Willis didn't overcome those things. Maybe it was because so many of his lines were cut. And even during the cutscenes, you can see that he's referring to someone called Kid. I don't know what he's talking about. And many of his lines are delivered as if he's saying them to you, the player, which is kind of weird. You know, but maybe we can overcome that, and we can find the sandwich in the lunch. You know, like diamond in the rough, but, you know. Okay, Margot.
Yes, Commander?
Any word on Splat, or the other crap going on with the communications?
No, Commander.
Okay, what about Splat?
Still confined in a jar. It won't be returning anytime soon.
Excellent. I mean, too bad. It is the future. Or another world. Hold on, let me look at this manual. Oh, it's the future. And religion and science are at war. Nothing like our idyllic present, of course. This is a scary future where war is over religion and science and not something cool or different in our time, right? Anyway, in this dark vision of the future, I guess it would be accurate for 1998. People are being ravaged by war and, moreover, disease. It seems like half the population chooses to believe in a syphilitic bald goon called the Reverend and his religion, and the other half is trusting in science to resolve the plagues and stuff. Gosh, fantasy is great. The Reverend is in tight with the president and wants to make life a living hell for everyone. Holy shit, I think someone at Neversoft is from the future and told them exactly what 2021 was like. But anyway, that's where Bruce Willis comes in. Bruce Willis is Trey Kincaid, badass, wise-ass, and as an experimental tech engineer of nanotechnology and cloning, a smartass who's on the warpath after science is outlawed. And you know what they say, when science is outlawed, outlaws are going to be pretty damn weak sauce, dude. But not when that scientist is Bruce Willis. Because you may be a theoretical mathematician or genetic biologist, but you sure as hell ain't a theatrical genetic whatever with homing missiles. And Neversoft, they decided to make sure Bruce Willis's computer self was staring into your soul at all times. None of this not looking down the barrel if we can control your electronic avatar, Mr. Willie. The game itself is basically a twin-stick shooter, in 3D, where you play as Bruce Willis, wrecking shop against his very religious foes. And yeah, not sure how religious zombies, skeletons, and half-assed Frankensteins are, but maybe they're Presbyterians or something. So you escape the prison, fight through the sewers of a future hellscape to kill a massive radioactive crocodile. Super religious crocodile? I don't know. The war is religious, right? Anyway, you enter the city where the apocalypse is in full swing, and right on cue, it's Bruce versus Death. Destroy Death, and you've just got 6 more levels of escalating craziness. Let's dive in. First, the game was released right after the DualShock analog control was released for PS1. So if you're going to play this on a PS3, go ahead and make sure your controller is set to analog controls, because the game is a fun romp when you're not playing it like Smash TV on the SNES. The square, when you're playing in analog mode, shoots to the left and also will double as your action button. You know, to kick buttons and pull levers and stuff. Actually, I think I've listed both things it'll ever do. Oh, and it'll press a button twice if you're holding it down, which comes in later. I'll show you. And a duck and a jump. The duck also does a combat roll, but that's never needed really. Otherwise, you're going to use the game's array of future gadgets to fight back against the Reverend and his apocalypse with homing rockets. Those are rad. And apparently, Bruce is super into strapping it on. Tell him, Bruce.
Strap one on. It's time to jam.
All right. You do you, brother. The weapons you can use are the flamethrower, homing missiles, particle beam, rip laser, because when you hit somebody, rip, grenade launcher, and rocket launcher. You see, most of the weapons by the midpoint of the sewer level are apparent. Like, you'll have every weapon by the end of the second level. And they're a hoot to use against your enemies. The very religious zombies and bats and crocodiles and shit that the Reverend has called into service to defeat science once and for all and destroy the whole entire world. I mean, what? His plot's pretty simple, but it's just insane. After your conflict with death, you break free into the rooftops of the city, and this level is longer than Long Johnson's long toes. Holy moly, poly, coly, joly. Very long level. And you fight helicopters, and you cross bridges. Moving from there, you're going into a factory, but it looks like the inside of a volcano at some point. Dude, these levels make no goddamn sense. So, you end up fighting War, who is also a giant monster, which is kind of fun. And at this point, I was making sure that I was carefully watching my weapons, because you're going to need to do that. Some creatures can only be killed easily with certain weapons, so you're going to have to switch between your weapons, and there's only one button to do it, and it only does it in one direction. Yeah, fun. So, the controls also are kind of a problem sometimes, because they get a bit slippery once in a while on the analog, because you can really easily overshoot stuff if you continue pressing in a direction after you jump. So it can be frustrating to get hung up on a single portion of the map or a weird blind jump, but not enough to make you hate the game or anything. And besides, there's tons of cheat codes. I mean, here's me turning them all on, and you can beat the game pretty quick. And besides, the graphics are actually pretty great for a PS1 game from that era, and the soundtrack voiceovers are all excellent. However, when the case says starring Bruce Willis, you gotta come correct. You know, Bruce should have came with a starring type performance in this. Well, Brucey. This is not exactly a Seagram's Golden Wine Cooler commercial, bro.
Wham, bam, thank you, man.
However, the cutscenes are short and well done, and it's definitely Bruce Willis making the wisecracks and talking his crazy shit. And Poe features as Mary, you know, which I thought was really cool. It's a religious connotation, but it's also like Typhoid Mary, and she ends up being pestilence or the plague or whatever. It's really cool. And here we see the very last level is Bruce Willis killing the Reverend inside the White House, which I don't know if that'd fly for half the country in this day and age where science destroys religion in the White House with homing missiles. Sorry, I don't know if you know this, but I love homing missiles. And here, at the end of the game, there is no good ending. Meaning there's no upbeat ending. Meaning the game ends with Bruce Willis being possessed by the Reverend and losing. No matter what you do. There is no secret ending that's better. There's not even a dog ending, like in Silent Hill. But once it's all said and done, there remains one last question. Does starring Bruce Willis Apocalypse have a license to play? Yeah. With a caveat. Don't expect more than a solid double-stick shooter with a bunch of nice bells and whistles visually for the PS1's early era. Nice sound, good score, good soundtrack, good extra tracks. It's got a beefed up system of moving around and such, but just it's got a lot of Bruce Willis in it, but you know, it's starring Bruce Willis is kind of a stretch. If you pretend that he's yelling at you, the player, you'll have a great time. Just pretend that everything he's doing is about you messing up how he plays in the game. Then you'll feel like it's fun, you know, like Last Action Hero or something. But yeah, Apocalypse by Activision for the Sony PlayStation absolutely gets my license to play. Oh.
We've got an estimated time of communications positive, Commander.
How long?
1 week.
Holy crap! Well, my quest for burgers and fries continues, folks. And, well, you know what they say. Is that what they say? Not when we're looking for fries. Anyway, more important than that, or anything else that I might have said in the past or in the future, always remember to stay, well, there's one more important thing. Please, like and subscribe to the video. If you liked what you saw, thumbs up. And if you didn't, yeah, just shut your mouth. Yeah, keep your yap shut. You talk too much. Your opinions don't matter. No, I'm kidding. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down, but definitely comment on why you didn't like it. If it's my big fat face, I'll take it off. I'll get a different fat face. 2, if you want to know when I have new videos out, hit the bell. We've got 3 shows going on right now. There's a long-form series called Staff Picks, where I tell you about new, crazy, wild, some retro, some new movies to check out when you're not watching License to Play. There's License to Play, and then there's also High Spots from a Mark's Life, which is true tales, 100% true tales of me and pro wrestling. You'd be surprised. I've had a lot of weird run-ins. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. And again, remember to always, always stay retro. Peace.
Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. You're a salt adult. Get upset.